And I think it's time for Cheap Heat. So let's kick it to Dom.
John, who's that on the screen? You've seen much more of him than I have. That looks like that's Bryan Danielson. This comes to us from WrestleZone. He lost at AEW's Wrestle Dream, which was their pay-per-view event this past week. And as a stipulation of that, he had to retire. Sean Ross Sapp here, they're quoting, Bryan Danielson's full-time wrestling career is effectively over. Sources indicate he specifically wanted to lose to Jon Moxley to end that run, which he did at the pay-per-view here at this Wrestle Dream event. In recent months, Danielson had been quite banged up. Doctors did not allow him to compete in blood and guts, which I'm guessing is an extreme type of match they do. However, he was cleared for standard matches. Per Sapp, Danielson's comments about needing neck surgery were true. And he had even thought that maybe he should not have done some of the matches leading up to Wrestle Dream, trying to keep himself fresh for it. John, you saw Wrestle Dream, did you not? And you saw this main event match for the AEW World title between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. What did you make of the match? And did you see, with your keen eye, did you see hints of Daniel Bryan not being 100% or them being very careful, extra careful with some moves and some things in this match? Give us your analysis of what you saw and Daniel Bryan here.
They certainly weren't careful.
Okay.
I think that they're both pros and they both know how to not kill each other and do all the moves with Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, but they really went for it during the match. He worked the neck and the head all match, and everyone knew that his neck was an issue, and that's what they worked for all the spots, and eventually chokes out Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, which is a brutal way to lose, especially, and, the heels clean as a whistle, he wins. I guess they're alluding the whole time to the neck injury, so who knows what's a real report, what's not a real report. The ending was, I would say, like watching a sad movie where it is not a happy ending, and they didn't do any of the retirement stuff where they go out, they go out on top. There's either they go out on top and they win, which was never going to happen with Bryan Danielson, but they didn't even give him the opportunity to kind of like wave to the crowd. They stretcher him off. Like, he gets beat down and beat down and beat down, and eventually he gets stretchered off. The crowd is silent because it's his hometown. The crowd is pretty much silent the whole time. You could see that they're pretty pissed. I really thought they might start throwing stuff like NWO
old NWO thing.
Yeah, and maybe because everyone knows it's a work, they restrain themselves. But I thought it was a great ending. Honestly, it sets up Moxley. Like, I felt a little bit of disdain from Moxley at the time. I'm like, dude, just screw this guy. Like, they hooked me a little bit. They got me. So whenever they get you in pro wrestling and you watch as a fan and it's all fake, but when they are able to get you a little bit, that's when they're really cooking. So they did a great job. I thought it was an excellent finish, and it sets up Moxley to be a monster heel moving forward.
Bryan Danielson's contract had expired August 1st. I guess he was basically just working on a prorated extension or a per diem. Danielson is effectively a free agent, but has no further obligations. But maybe he signs a WWE Legends deal at some point. But yeah, I guess he's been hinting at it in interviews that he wants his full-time wrestling career to be over. And maybe if he needs surgeries, he's done. He seems to be the kind of guy who he doesn't want to wrestle if he can't wrestle his style.
Yes.
So maybe he's done. Maybe he gave all that he could up until the point where he knew he was going to start losing it.
Yeah.
And so he went out, championship match, walking in as the champion, losing it the way he wants to lose it to another wrestler whom he respects a great deal in Jon Moxley, loses in very memorable fashion, and in a way that gets people talking. Men's Journal, not necessarily a pro wrestling magazine, did a big profile of him after he lost. Bryan Danielson is the reason I love pro wrestling. A reflection on how Bryan Danielson turned me into the wrestling fan I am today as his full-time career comes to an end. You don't see this a lot in non-wrestling magazines.
Yeah.
But he gets a very good write-up here. And Bryan Danielson is not like the movie star guy. He's not The Rock. He's not John Cena, who they show here wrestling the then named Daniel Bryan in his WWE run. He's not like the movie star person who you'd expect to be in a more mainstreamy publication, non-wrestling publication. But I guess Bryan Danielson meant a lot to a lot of fans. Warranted? Something you're surprised at seeing? What does this kind of coverage of Bryan Danielson do for you?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at his full-time career, he actually retired already in WWE at one point, and I know that they really got him to retire. Then he wanted to come back, but they kind of refused to have him come back, and they can only wrestle a certain style that was safer. So he jumped ship, went to AEW, and he's had a really great career. He's been like the ultimate babyface. So even when he lost to Moxley, it really was a lot on Bryan Danielson's appeal rather than Moxley's. Now, Moxley was not giving him any time of day or any sort of sportsmanship like what you would typically see, in modern day wrestling and retirement. But this one's kind of old school, where his retirement is a way to extend his storyline. And then in addition to that, this is when he was a heel. This is fantastic. The Planet's champion. So he was basically like a green, like a go green guy, and he had like a wooden belt rather than made of like, I guess like, I don't know, all of the like, I'm trying to think of the right terminology.
It's even bigger than the People's Champion. He's the Planet's champion. It's responsible ecology. The belt is made out of wood, a sustainable resource, and it looks like a mosaic of repurposed stones there.
This was actually pretty brilliant and he would get so much heat. He gets so much heel heat for telling people all about how they're like wasteful and stuff like that. Which is like, someone like that. Someone in your life that is ultra obsessed with global warming and yelling at you for stuff. And you're like, leave me alone. I get it. But
so eventually he gets to AEW. What was it like for you, John, when Bryan Danielson, when the Daniel Bryan era ended in WWE and he went to AEW? Did you expect that he'd be the kind of wrestler you've seen the last few years in AEW?
I don't think anyone thought he'd be that good. So, he's really overperformed. He's one of those. I mean, there's some signings that they've had that have gone a little flat. There's some that probably need a little bit time to get going. Maybe Mercedes Moné. Some people are saying that one hasn't been so good. I kind of disagree with that. Adam Cole has been a complete bust. But Bryan Danielson really hit it out of the park in AEW. And there's so many different matchups they wasn't able to have in WWE that they just had in AEW. Like he wrestled Kenny Omega. Like he wrestled, and that match really was, those two tore it up. I think he takes some of the agile and the flippy stuff, if you will, the gymnastic-y type stuff he can do, but he breaks it down into some simple, basic, standard wrestling that it's a great combo.
Okay, and there was, the Blackpool Combat Club. He and Moxley were in this faction together for a while, weren't they? So it's interesting that Moxley completely turns on Bryan Danielson at the end there, and not only beats him for the title, but retires him and retires him being taken out on a stretcher. So the dream match machine, like everybody's dream match was Bryan Danielson for a while. Will Ospreay, a lot of these guys. He wins the title against Swerve Strickland in Europe, and then here it was, the end. So a great write-up by Ryan Woodrow, who is a writer based in London. So he's one of the international fans of pro wrestling at this point. Great write-up. Go to Men's Journal and look up this article. Bryan Danielson is the reason I love pro wrestling. If you want to take a dive through Bryan Danielson's history in both WWE and AEW, if you want to look at some great photos and reminisce about some of his key matches and key moments. Fun stuff. Do you want to talk Jon Moxley now?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is related. I don't know that I'm going to be able to play this video here. This is how I get. Did they open Dynamite this way or close it this way?
They
this past Wednesday
opened AEW Dynamite with this video,
Okay.
and maybe I will go ahead and.
Are you going to risk playing? This is from All Elite Wrestling's channel here. Is it worth the strike on the channel for us to play their content?
I think that they won't strike us. I've had stuff before with I have had, like, remember Tony Khan had
Yes.
the video where he was talking about CM Punk. So I think we'll
Yes.
be all right. I think we'll be
Okay.
okay. And I don't think they'll strike.
Okay.
anything.
This is a YouTube video on YouTube, so AEW YouTube's algorithm might just be all over us for this, but yeah, give it a shot. It's a 2-minute video. Apparently, this is the aftermath of Wrestle Dream, and it's how they opened the program Wednesday by showing what happened. All right. I think that's a well-produced spot, and I think Moxley is fantastic, just carrying it the whole way from a dialogue standpoint. I mean, he's the old Shield in WWE. Wow, have these guys grown up in their careers?
Yeah, they've all gone on to do, like, amazing stuff.
And they've all become great on the mic, great at character work. I mean, Moxley seems the most real of all of them over in AEW now. This is fantastic, and it's kind of bringing the dirt sheets into the wrestling ring, right? Because the dirt sheets have been talking about how AEW's got too many people. They're spending too much money. There's too many people who don't get on TV, don't get into the pay-per-views. They're just standing around doing nothing. What's going on? What's Tony doing? Does he know how to run a wrestling company? Does he know how to run any sort of business? What's he doing?
That is the dirt sheet dialogue, and that's all. That's all the old guys that have podcasts that hate everything.
It's they talk about life imitating art. This is art imitating life. They're taking the dirt sheets, the real shoots that people are doing, and they're turning it into a work.
Yeah. No,
play the video, release the tape. We have done it, Nick. What did you think there? Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comment. Had you seen this already, either by watching AEW on Wednesday or by finding the clip on one of the streaming platforms? What did you think of it? Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments.
We got one from Nick. The opinion.
Hate that Mox ended Bryan's career. Wish he had one more with Okada and Zack Sabre Jr. Think he's just really banged up at this point. So, okay, so Nick, tell us, is it just the timing that was bad for you? Because let's say he has your dream matches that you mentioned there, and then goes into this Moxley match at a future pay-per-view down the line. Would you have been okay with that?
I feel like that was the plan, Dom. I think that they had to cut it early because of like some health issues. At least that's just a total guess based off of, like, you hear like the rumors, but then you're like, all right, these rumors don't really mean anything. But if you think about them losing it at All Out or All In, excuse me, All In, where he wins the title. He only has it for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then drops it right away. There had to have been a longer run that they were planning. Not really a hot potato, but I think it sets up down the road. Like, I think one of the big complaints with AEW, and maybe they're kind of addressing, is like the storytelling or even long term storytelling. Because if Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, very confusing name, Bryan Danielson is able to come back, then you're gonna want to watch the match between him and Moxley, the rematch, right?
Okay.
After that, you're gonna be like, yeah, let's get this going, and then I think it's good because it'll give a legitimate reason for him to be on the shelf. So
Okay.
I thought the promo was awesome when I watched it in the beginning of the Dynamite. I was like, this is probably one of the better vignettes I've seen in wrestling in a very long time.
Oh, it's WWE production quality. I think even better.
Yeah.
I think
The,
this was fantastic.
the shades of realism with the fans yelling at them. This is right after everything went down.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the shades of the realism right after it happened, and they're on the truck, and the crowds screaming as they notice, oh, it's him. He's on TV,
Yeah.
and the little innocent boy that strung along in Wheeler Yuta at the very end, kind of looking off, like he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, but he's kind of just like stuck into it. I thought that was a nice little touch.
Okay, so they're setting up maybe something happens to Wheeler Yuta here.
Mhm.
We talked about the bloodline and how much we enjoy the fact that they're doing slow burns with the bloodline in WWE. Does AEW do slow burns, or is everything seem like it's very quick?
Oh yeah, it's all super fast.
Okay.
They Vince and Tony, and I'm going to say Vince because Vince has been the booker for a long time. Vince will almost not book things, and they like never happen because he's
Yeah.
waiting for the perfect time to
Yeah.
get to that point because he really wants to like take advantage of whatever that would be. And then Tony just says, "Oh, I like these two guys. Let's see them wrestle." So, which is also good, like which has done them well. Always like the short term booking, like, oh yeah, this is our most popular guy right now. This is another popular guy. Match them up, go. Rather than like build them up, and try to get them together. Because oftentimes Vince would delay the gratification, and it never really comes. You know.
He missed his chance at Ric Flair Hulk Hogan
Exactly. That's a great
during
example.
Flair's first run in WWF.
Mm-hmm. There's a ton like that. That like, why how did these two never have a rivalry? And it's like, they never got around to it, or they just, they pushed it off for too long. Where they build it, because Vince is always thinking like WrestleMania. He's always been WrestleMania pilled to a
Mhm.
point where everything needs to build to WrestleMania. All the other stuff is just stuff in between, right? To get to WrestleMania.
Before we get to the build to WrestleMania, could, if his health had cooperated, which we're guessing that his health really did, the reports from some of these wrestling insiders are true. If Bryan Danielson's health had cooperated, should this have been a slow burn?
It's probably, oh yeah, slower than 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it was. But
Okay.
I think it was a bit of a happy accident because you're in Seattle, and I don't think you get that kind of reaction from the crowd if you're not in Daniel Bryan's hometown.
Okay,
Which
the
if
dead
you,
silence.
yeah, the dead silence in Daniel Bryan's hometown, because Tony doesn't typically book like in a way where the hometown doesn't leave happy, you know. So yeah, he typically that's actually a Vince thing. For some weird reason, he'd always do hometown not happy. And once you start to see more and more of like that Mr. McMahon documentary, you see a lot of the way that Vince would book with just like spite and like inside jokes almost. Hey, I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want. But
Okay.
so yeah, we talked at great lengths here about AEW. We have a lot of people in the chat on YouTube and Twitch. So let us know what you think about AEW's current direction. We appreciate the feedback from you guys and appreciate hanging in. So, Dom, go ahead. Keep going.
We brought up WrestleMania. They're already on the road to WrestleMania 41.
Yes.
It's like 6 months out. Samantha Irvin and Rey Mysterio Jr. were out at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, home of WrestleMania 41. They're getting the crowd fired up and into things. This is from WWE's Instagram post here. Cody Rhodes, of course, is over on a tour with some WWE folks in England. He's teasing that WrestleMania might go to the UK at some point. Cody Rhodes just told WWE Manchester that someone in Stamford is watching to see if the UK can fill a stadium. The WrestleMania hints continue. So they're already dropping hints about WrestleMania 41 and future WrestleManias. It's like you said, they're always thinking about WrestleMania in the WWE. Maybe that's why WWE WrestleMania is always so successful, because it's always on people's minds. This also gave them a chance while being over there to do some UFC WWE cross promotion here. This is Tom Aspinall. I did not know much about him, so I looked him up over there on UFC's site. Let's bump this up for some people here. We'll get rid of the cookies. Tom Aspinall, he's in the heavyweight division. He is the interim title holder there for UFC. He's 15-3-0 in his career, so he's up there in Bobby Lashley record territory. And of course, being over in England, hey, let's do some cross promotion for the sister promotion there, the sister sports promotion there. There's Cody Rhodes in the background, and they are waving on Tom Aspinall. So tons of stuff happening in WWE, all either corporate promotion related or WrestleMania related. They're already thinking about WrestleManias that haven't even been booked yet.
Yes. I mean, yeah, they're already doing the second thing. I wonder if Cody, though, like, just goes to every city. It's like, we should have WrestleMania here, right? And the crowd's like, yeah. Is it just like Cody Rhodes' cheap heat babyface?
Right.
Or
he's doing his like he's in Peoria, Illinois.
Peoria, Illinois. And
it's like, no offense to those of you in Peoria, Illinois. Like, I'll pick on myself. I went to college in Scranton. He's in Scranton, Pennsylvania going, there's people in Stamford wondering if we can fill this minor league hockey arena.
Yes, right. If we could get this minor league hockey arena, yeah, the Philadelphia Phantoms AHL team in Scranton, can they fill the stadium? I'll tell you what, though, as a person in the Philadelphia area, I would not mind a London WrestleMania pay-per-view at all, because it would be early. They're usually longer shows, so you could be like, you're not getting into that midnight 1 a.m. twilight. Sometimes they bleed into.
Yes.
And from my perspective, the timing would be fine. It'd be crazy in London. I mean, any city, it's going to be crazy. Like, let's face it. They do such a great job building it because they're WrestleMania pilled in WWE.
And both WrestleMania and SummerSlam, which the WWE likes to do as 2-day shows now. They'll start that for SummerSlam in 2025. April and August, you're not running into NFL games on Sundays, and you're not running into college football on Saturdays.
I was thinking,
an afternoon WrestleMania. I'm in.
Yeah, and it is funny you said that, because I thought right away about football. Football is the biggest thing for any live event to avoid. It just dominates, right? So even the MLB playoffs are like, oh no, there's a Thursday night football game with the Saints and the Broncos, which probably will do bigger numbers than these amazing MLB playoff games.
Right. It's just how it's the one and done nature of the NFL.
Yes.
They don't have 7-game series for anything.
Yeah.
There's no Carmelo Hayes Andrade 7-game series.
Yeah.
Right. It's just one and done stuff in football. So football is always an event. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Someone they've been hinting at, this is from comingsoon.net. This past week on Raw, so 5 days ago, they dropped a couple of Brock Lesnar hints. WrestleOps is reporting there via Fightful Select there are no plans right now for Brock Lesnar to return, nor any creative plans in place in WWE. But they're wondering why they kept making Beast references to the Beast references on Raw. What's going on? Do you think they're just trying to very quietly or swerve people on the wrestling media sites? Do you think there's a way for Brock Lesnar to return to the WWE? He eventually was put on the shelf because his name came up in the sexual assault case against Vince McMahon. It wasn't, I don't think, alleged that Brock had committed any crimes, but just his name was associated with it. And WWE corporate, TKO corporate, very quickly just said, all right, yep, we don't even want your name associated with WWE at the moment. Go away. Could things cool down where you think Brock Lesnar could return? What do you make of them hinting at it on Raw? And would you want to see Brock Lesnar back?
Yeah. Time heals all, right? I don't think that if someone screws up, they should just be completely deleted. I don't think he should also ignore it. It's got to be acknowledged at some point and figured out and talked about, and then we move on. But yeah, that's how I feel about all this stuff. So, Brock Lesnar, you can't have him out there right away. They have to be safe as a publicly traded company. Yada, yada, yada. But all that stuff he was doing didn't seem terrible. And I didn't seem like the mastermind behind it, which is Vince. And that's the guy that you kind of have to go after. But there's some value. Obviously, there's tons of value to Lesnar. He's a great in-ring talent. He also, for their company, TKO, must be a super valuable asset, as he is definitely going to be a WWE Hall of Famer and a UFC Hall of Famer. Just an all-time athlete as far as what he's been able to accomplish, at least, from the NCAA men's championship, like winning that and then going into the UFC and then winning their heavyweight title. Those are shoot, not worked opportunities or things that he won. And then in addition to that, being such a big face in WWE, I mean, he's one of those guys that, he's a pretty remarkable person. He's accomplished a lot. So hopefully he's not just carried, deleted or whatever.
If you've subscribed to Don't Bury the Lead, head on over to the channel there on YouTube. If you haven't, head on over to the channel on YouTube, subscribe, and then go looking in our archives of videos. We did last year, who would win in a real fight?
Yeah.
We did it bracket style.
Right.
The 8 men's champions at that point, singles title holders and combined tag team title holders at the time, which was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then we threw in a couple of guys who just didn't have belts, but we thought should be there. A few guys like that. So we had it down to 8. Brock Lesnar, 1 hour fictional who would win in a real fight brackets. Go look up that video. That was fun to do. You did some research for that. What are these guys' backgrounds in not only major competitive sports, but combat sports if they have them. And so, yeah, Brock Lesnar was our predicted champion of a who would win a real fight.
Yeah. I wonder if that's got me thinking a little bit. Yeah, go ahead and check that out in the archives of Don't Bury the Lead. It's under one of the playlists.
Mm-hmm. And in the finals of that bracket there, I think it was Brock Lesnar versus this guy. The story comes to us from WrestleZone. Bobby Lashley, who is now in AEW, we think, because AEW decided against debuting Bobby Lashley at WrestleDream. Were you expecting Bobby Lashley at WrestleDream, John?
I have expected him for a little bit now because they have MVP and Shelton Benjamin kind of taking around Shelton Benjamin wrestled on Wednesday against Leo Rush, who jobbed to him. But yeah, I've been expecting Bobby Lashley, but who knows if they're just trying to get the timing right and then what they'll do with Bobby Lashley. But it looks like they're doing a program with Shelton Benjamin and Swerve Strickland, which should be pretty cool.
Okay, per Sean Ross Sapp, they're quoting here. Lashley was considered for an appearance. However, the company decided against it. Sources noted that the debut likely would have led to Swerve Strickland being laid out. Sources said this would not have worked well with Bryan Danielson, another hometown hero, being beaten at the end of the show. So maybe some good calls here creatively.
Yeah, because you're going to have the two baby faces just getting pounded down, and that's the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So keep your eye out. Apparently, Bobby Lashley has signed with the company. And his friends there have already made their on-air debuts, in-ring debuts as well. So keep a lookout for Bobby Lashley there. You still think this is a big signing? Lots of potential.
For sure.
Very good. I was sorry to see him leave WWE SmackDown because I thought he had a run in him. At least it looked like they were building him for that.
With Bobby Lashley, I'm surprised WWE let him go. Because I just thought he was good enough that he's getting a pop everywhere he goes, and there's something to be said about that. They try to turn him into a heel, and the crowd just loves him. So he's a great face, and I thought he could still work. It's not like he was done. He's in fantastic physical shape, and anytime he came out, you're like, okay, this guy's pretty cool, but.
Maybe they were mad the crowd kept cheering him. Now, I wonder if he's supposed to be a heel in AEW, will the crowd just love Bobby Lashley too much? Or will the AEW crowd understand and, look at the heel antics of him and MVP and Shelton Benjamin and, get into it and boo these guys?
Yeah, that's a good point. They're going to try to make him a heel again. Why don't they just let him be a face? Everybody loves him.
I don't know. Not everybody can be a face, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of a guy who doesn't know if he's a face or a heel, it's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. We don't know. Is he teasing a heel run when he comes back or a face run? He did a very face thing recently. He posted this to his account on Twitter, X there. He met Muhammad Ali when he was a little kid and made such a positive impression on him. So when he gets the chance to meet young fans, he tries to make it worth their while. He was apparently met a young fan named Marco. It was great to meet you, shake your hand, and give you a hug. Keep up the great work in school. Thank you, big man, for being my biggest fan. P.S. Us big boys cry too. Not sure where he got to meet him, but he was out there. This maybe is a tour of Hollywood studios or something, and The Rock is there working on a movie. So he finds out that he's got somebody asking for him out there, and hey, maybe it's his lunch break. He runs out and meets some fans. This was neat. This is definitely a babyface thing, though. Reminiscent of, and you brought this up, Cody Rhodes over the summer, seeing a fan in the stands saying he survived brain surgery and bringing the guy into the ring. Cody Rhodes, babyface. This is a babyface move. The Rock, just kind of as a guy, is a babyface, right? No matter what he's doing in wrestling, The Rock is kind of a babyface. People like to cheer for The Rock, movie star, businessman, personality.
It feels a little bit like that, but there also is a certain section of the internet that I've noticed because I have the video when I made my Rock video that were commenting about him and they were like burying him. So I feel like and even getting the boos in WWE seemed like a lot more natural than getting cheered.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a massive star. So I guess people are going to have, when you get like Taylor Swift big, right? There's going to be Swiftie haters and there's going to be Swiftie lovers. So, yeah. But then I really like what Cody Rhodes did there because you really can't do any better than that, right? Like that's as baby face as you get.
right? Call someone into the ring after an event and then give them a piece of your memorabilia there.
No, that's awesome. And I think he's really good at stuff like that. He's really kind of replaced Cena pretty well because this is really Cena's shtick was Make a
Yes.
Wish, all sort of like goodwill things like this, which are like amazing. So very cool that Cody did this.
Kid dropped his phone, though. I hope he got his phone because there's probably some really cool pictures on it.
Yeah, I know. This is, I'm sure there's tons of footage right now online because we're seeing like the different footage they have, but very cool that Cody Rhodes did this.
This was a babyface move. This was from August. I guess they were, I'm not sure where they were touring at the time, but yeah, this is definitely the babyface move. So Cody Rhodes, definitely a babyface. The Rock, we're not so sure, but still gracious to his fans, especially the kids.
Yeah, we'll see. Is he going to be the final boss Rock, or is he babyface Rock?
I hope it's the final boss Rock.
I'm rooting for it's. Yeah, in my heart of hearts, I want heel Rock.
If they want me to cheer the Rock, I will boo them wanting me to cheer the Rock. I will cheer them wanting me to boo the Rock.
Right.
Figure that one out on the whiteboard. One more. We talk about wrestlers doing stuff outside of wrestling successfully. Who's this guy here on the end? It's Phil Brooks, CM Punk. Starring in a horror thriller called Night Patrol. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Good news for CM Punk. Maybe he takes a little time off as well to go film a movie. We've seen a lot of the guys who are the better characters, the better talkers in wrestling, be able to do this. Not just The Rock, not just John Cena. Roman Reigns recently took some time off and was doing a movie. MJF over in AEW was doing a movie. Hey, CM Punk. What say you about CM Punk getting his shot? And do you know anything about CM Punk's, if he's done anything like this before, and have you seen any of it?
Yeah, he did another movie where he may have starred in it that got pretty good reviews, and I don't know if it was more independent, but it was some sort of horror flick. When he was out of wrestling and kind of over the after he got his face kicked in the UFC and was like in that hiatus, he did a movie. So, and it
There it is, Girl on the Third Floor in 2019.
For whatever it's, the girl on the, what is it? The Girl on the Third Floor?
Girl on the Third Floor from 2019, 5 years ago.
Yeah, he did this movie, and it was one of these things where it got really good Rotten Tomatoes. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad, but usually it goes up in that direction. Like if it's got generally good critically acclaimed reviews, and the users and the people like it too on Rotten Tomatoes, it's usually considered a good movie. But I don't want to get too deep into the Rotten Tomatoes. Is it right or wrong?
Okay, they mentioned the Punk is one of the biggest names of wrestling. His feud with fellow fighter Drew McIntyre being a big storyline. That was a great feud. Drew McIntyre, of course, got into a film that Dave Bautista made recently.
Yes.
So again, more guy, and we've talked about how Drew is doing some of the best work of his career. Good for all of these guys getting a chance to do more than just wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, CM Punk in Night Patrol, a horror thriller. That's all I got. It's unseasonably warm. It's pathologically frugal. John, what is it?
It's cheap heat.